Jesus often taught in parables. These parables were more than just simple stories. They were profound lessons wrapped in everyday scenarios that people could easily relate to. These were simple stories with deeper meanings. They were designed to make people think, to reflect on their lives and their relationship with God. They helped people understand complex spiritual truths. By using familiar situations, Jesus made these truths accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or education. One such parable is the parable of the talents, found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30. This parable is a powerful illustration of responsibility and faithfulness. This parable tells the story of a master and his servants. The master, before embarking on a long journey, calls his servants and entrusts them with his wealth. Before going on a journey, the master entrusts his servants with different amounts of money called talents. Each servant receives a different amount based on the master's assessment of their abilities. A talent was a significant sum of money in those days. It was not just a coin or a small amount. It represented a substantial value, often equivalent to many years of wages. The master gives each servant talents according to their abilities. To one, he gives 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to the third 1 talent. Each servant is given a portion of the master's wealth to manage. The parable is not really about money. It uses money as a metaphor to convey a deeper message about the gifts and opportunities we receive in life. It is about how we use what God has given us. Whether it is our time, our skills, or our resources, the parable challenges us to consider how we are investing these gifts. It is a story about stewardship, about being responsible with the gifts and opportunities God gives us. The master in the parable represents God, and the servants represent us. The talents symbolize the various blessings and responsibilities we are given in life. The first 2 servants take their talents and put them to work. They invest and trade, and by the time the master returns, they have doubled what was given to them. Their efforts are rewarded, and the master praises them for their faithfulness and diligence. However, the third servant, out of fear or perhaps laziness, hides his talent in the ground. He does nothing with what he was given. When the master returns, he is disappointed and reprimands the servant for his lack of initiative and responsibility. The parable concludes with a powerful lesson. Those who are faithful with little will be entrusted with much, and those who squander their opportunities will lose even what they have. It is a call to action, urging us to be proactive and faithful stewards of the gifts we have received. As we reflect on this parable, we are reminded of the importance of using our talents wisely. It encourages us to take risks, to invest in our abilities, and to trust that our efforts will be rewarded. It is a timeless message that continues to resonate with us today, challenging us to live lives of purpose and faithfulness. The master in the parable represents God, a figure of ultimate authority and wisdom who oversees the lives of his followers with a grand plan in mind. The servants in the story symbolize us, the followers of God, each with our own unique roles and responsibilities in the grand tapestry of life. Just as the master entrusted his servants with talents, God entrusts us with a variety of gifts, abilities, and opportunities. These talents are not just monetary, but encompass all the skills, resources, and chances we encounter in our lives. The first servant received 5 talents, a significant amount symbolizing a person endowed with numerous gifts and opportunities. The second servant received 2 talents, representing someone with a moderate share of gifts and responsibilities, yet still significant in their own right. The third servant received only 1 talent, a smaller portion, indicating that even those with fewer resources have a role to play and responsibilities to fulfill. Each servant received a different amount, highlighting the diversity in the distribution of gifts and opportunities among us. This shows that God gives us different gifts according to our abilities and potential. Each person is uniquely equipped to handle the tasks and challenges they face. The master's departure symbolizes God's temporary absence in our earthly lives. It represents the period we live in where we're entrusted with our gifts and must use them wisely. We have a time to live and use our gifts before we face God again. This period is our chance to prove our faithfulness and diligence in managing what we have been given. This time on earth is our opportunity to be good stewards of what we have been given. It is a test of our character, our dedication, and our willingness to serve a higher purpose. We are called to use our talents not just for personal gain, but to benefit others and contribute to the greater good. By doing so, we honor the trust that has been placed in us. Acts of kindness, generosity, and service are ways we can multiply our talents, just as the faithful servants did in the parable. Reflecting on our actions and seeking guidance through prayer can help us stay aligned with our purpose and make the most of our gifts. When we use our talents wisely, we not only fulfill our potential, but also bring joy and fulfillment to our lives and those around us. Ultimately, the return of the Master signifies the time when we will be held accountable for how we have used our gifts. It is a moment of reckoning and reward. Those who have been faithful and diligent will be rewarded, just as the servants who multiplied their talents were praised and given greater responsibilities. Let us strive to be like the faithful servants, using our gifts to their fullest potential, so that when the time comes, we too may hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." The first two servants were wise. They understood the value of what they had been given. They immediately put their talents to work, investing them to earn more. The servant with 5 talents doubled his money. The servant with 2 talents also doubled his money. They both worked diligently and faithfully. They did not waste their time or their master's resources. These servants represent those who use their God-given talents diligently. They understand that their gifts are not just for themselves, but to be used for God's glory. The third servant reacted differently. He was afraid. He feared losing the talent he had been given. Instead of investing it, he buried it in the ground. This servant represents those who are afraid to use their gifts for God. They may be afraid of failure, criticism, or responsibility. They may simply be lazy or complacent. Burying our talents is not what God expects of us. He wants us to use them, to grow them, and to multiply them for His kingdom. The Master's judgment, rewards, and consequences. In this section, we delve into the profound lessons of accountability and the outcomes of our actions. Upon the Master's return, he called his servants to account. Each servant was summoned to present what they had done with the resources entrusted to them. The first 2 servants presented their master with the profits they had earned. They had taken the talents given to them and multiplied them through diligent work and wise investments. The master was pleased. He commended them for their faithfulness and diligence. Their efforts had not gone unnoticed, and their success was a testament to their hard work and commitment. "Well done, good and faithful servant," the master said. These words were more than just praise. They were an acknowledgement of their integrity and dedication. "You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much." This promotion was not just a reward, but a greater responsibility, a sign of the master's trust in their abilities. Enter into the joy of your master. This invitation to share in the master's joy was the ultimate reward, a celebration of their success and loyalty. The third servant, however, offered an excuse. Unlike the first 2, he had not taken any risks or made any efforts to grow the talent he was given. He claimed he was afraid and had hidden the talent to keep it safe. His fear paralyzed him, leading him to bury the talent in the ground rather than use it productively. The master rebuked him for his fear and lack of initiative. He pointed out that even a minimal effort, like depositing the talent with bankers to earn interest, would have been better than doing nothing. The master's judgment was clear. Those who are faithful with little will be entrusted with more, while those who squander their opportunities will face consequences. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of using our gifts and resources wisely. In the broader context, this parable teaches us about the value of diligence, the rewards of faithfulness, and the consequences of inaction. It encourages us to take initiative, be proactive, and contribute positively to our communities. Ultimately, the joy of the Master represents the fulfillment and happiness that come from living a life of purpose and responsibility. It is a call to action for all of us to make the most of the opportunities we are given. Stewardship, our gifts from God. The parable teaches us about stewardship. Stewardship is the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. Everything we have, our life, our talents, our resources, are gifts from God. We're merely stewards of these gifts. God has given each of us unique talents and abilities. These are not just for our own benefit, but for the good of others and the building of God's kingdom. We are accountable to God for how we use them. Using our talents for good. The parable encourages us to identify and use our talents for good. We should not compare ourselves to others or be afraid to use what we have been given. Our talents may be in areas such as teaching and mentoring, serving the poor and needy, creative arts and music, leadership and administration, showing hospitality and encouragement. No matter how small or insignificant our talents may seem, they are valuable to God. He can use them for his purposes if we are willing to offer them back to him. And the parable in modern life, the parable of the talents, is still relevant today. We live in a world that often emphasizes self-promotion and material gain. It is easy to get caught up in pursuing our own success and forgetting about our responsibility to God. The parable challenges us to examine our lives. Are we burying our talents out of fear or indifference, or are we investing them wisely, using them to make a difference in the world? Fear not, but use your gifts. The message of the parable is a call to action. It is a reminder that we are not saved by our works, but we are saved for good works. God expects us to use our gifts to serve him and others. Do not be afraid to use your talents for God. Step out in faith. Be willing to take risks. You may be surprised at what God can do through you. A call to faithful stewardship. The parable of the talents is a powerful reminder of our responsibility to God. We are accountable to him for how we use our time, talents, and resources. Let us be found faithful stewards, investing our gifts wisely for the building of his kingdom. The Master's words to the faithful servants should inspire us. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your life.